What is good, fragrance fam? Welcome back to another video. And today I want to talk about the topic of finding the perfect fragrance. And I think this is something that we all try to do. We're always chasing that next fragrance. We're always chasing that next fragrance that's gonna be a love at first sniff. And no matter how many fragrances you have in your collection, it kind of feels like it's never enough. You may even have found a fragrance that you really, really love, but you still catch yourself going out and trying new fragrances or blind buying stuff online. And so I want to talk about this topic of the process of finding the perfect fragrance and if it's even possible at all, So let's get into it, and let's start at the very beginning. When you first get into fragrances, your standard or your level of expectation is pretty low because you walk into the fragrance store and you just want something that smells good. Smells good and lasts long. That's literally it. You don't really care about complexity. You don't care about, is this synthetic? Does this smell natural? All you want is that when you spray that fragrance on, you're gonna get a positive reaction from others. And at the beginning, whether we like to admit it or not, most of us are drawn to the more generic type scents, like our YSL EDP. Even though this is more of a unique blue scent, it is still a blue scent. Or all the Creed Aventus dupes, Mont Blanc Explorer, for example, Dior Sauvage. Those are the fragrances that really catch our attention, and usually it's one of the fragrances that we end up buying as our first fragrance. And over time, right, we try new things. We hear about some sweet fragrances like Armani Code Absolute maybe, which I heard is now discontinued. Really sad, but I'm glad I have 110 milliliters of this. I think I have more than half left, so I'm chilling. But yeah, so you hear about sweet fragrances, then you try sweet fragrances. At first you don't really like it, and then you kind of get used to it, and then you catch yourself sniffing more sweet fragrances at the fragrance store, and then you end up buying one, and then you end up buying 2 and 3 and 4, and then you're like, I need something different. And then maybe you try a fragrance that is a little bit darker, like Tom Ford Noir Extreme, that has this extra layer of depth to it. Sweet, dark, okay, it's a level above. Now, maybe you're looking for something that has a rum note in it. So you go experimenting, you try maybe Latafos Camera, or maybe you try Gentleman Reserve Privé. And so the fragrance experience keeps expanding. And as our noses get used to these new or different kind of smells, our tastes change. And so you can smell a fragrance that you bought a year ago, you love to death, you wore it every single day, and now you don't really like it anymore. Why? Because our noses keep adapting. And there's this crucial human aspect to the idea of collecting, and it's that we are never truly satisfied. Even if we find a fragrance that we truly love, and for me, example right now, it's a Givenchy's Gentleman Reserve Privé. I love this thing. I think it's amazing. I always spray it on my arm. I got it sprayed right now. It's over here. I was wearing a t-shirt before this. But I just love it, so I sniff it throughout the day. So it's an amazing fragrance. But the only reason I like it is because of all the other fragrances I've had before it. All these fragrances I've picked up before this one led to the development of my nose in such a way that now this smells good to me. You know what I mean? Because I went shopping with a friend of mine about a year ago, I'd say, in the summer, and we went through the fragrance shop, and he smelled over 5 fragrances maybe, so not too many to go nose blind, but all these fragrances that were like a little bit sweeter or had an interesting note that was a little bit different kind of put him off. He smelt it and he was like, "No, man, this is not it. It's not the one." And then they happened to have a Club de Nuit Intense Man. Smell that, bam, instant love, bought it without hesitation. And that's how it is for a lot of us. And that's why I think we will never find the perfect fragrance, because our nose will constantly adapt and change. At the beginning, we all love the generic scents. This is what we want. It gets the job done. And then we get used to them. And then we want something else. We want something different. We want something stronger. We want something for a different occasion. And then before you know it, you've got a collection of like 5 fragrances, turns into 10, turns into 20. And then I think the next milestone is probably like 50, right? I don't think I'm there yet, but I'm sure many of you probably have collections upwards of 50 or even 100. I mean, it's crazy how much fragrances people buy. But this is what I'm trying to get at, that the fragrance journey never really stops, because there's always new fragrances being released. There's always old fragrances that we still haven't smelled yet, and then we go to the store, we try them, we're like, "Oh man, this is actually good." And then when you try a fragrance that has like a new note, like for me right now, it's kind of like this boozy note that I'm interested in. Now I'm curious to smell like all the boozy fragrances, you know? And then it's kind of just like one fragrance leads to the next, leads to the next. And what's really interesting is that everyone's journey is different, and we shouldn't rush it. I feel like there's a certain pressure in the fragrance community to really like niche fragrances. And what I recommend to people is take your time. You know, fragrances are always going to be around. You don't have to skip like a certain phase in the development of your nose. If you like a certain genre, go for it. Just buy, you know, several of those scents if you really like them and if you think they're, you know, worthy of being in your collection. But you don't have to buy niche fragrances just for the sake of having a niche fragrance, because what we have to realize is that they're niche fragrances for a reason. They're fragrances curated for a small percentage of the population, right? The designer fragrances are meant to be enjoyed by most people, right? So you don't have to force yourself to buy niche. If you want to and you smell a niche fragrance that's like amazing and you really like it, then go ahead and purchase it. But I'm just saying, if you smelt a few niches and you don't really get the hype around it, don't force yourself to appreciate it. Just take your time, have patience, enjoy the fragrance journey. There's some fragrances that you will never like, and there's some fragrances that just require your nose to take a little bit more time in order to appreciate it. You know what I mean? So that's another point of this video. One, there really is no perfect fragrance. I feel like, you know, there's always room for improvement. There's always new room for development. Even if the past few years in the fragrance community, there hasn't been any crazy advancements, we're still getting newer-ish kind of fragrances. You know, we're not getting like blue fragrance after blue fragrance after blue fragrance. Some of these companies are actually trying to provide something a little bit different. But yeah, anyways, one, there is no perfect fragrance. And number two, do not rush the fragrance journey process. Enjoy every moment, enjoy every single bottle you have. You know, oftentimes we get so caught up in fragrances that we forget to enjoy the bottles that we do have. You know, we're always looking for the next bottle. And it's good to just take a step back, appreciate your collections, your collection, and just wear the fragrances you have, you know. And you know, you can watch reviewers and see what's going on in the fragrance community, but don't feel the need to instantly blind buy every fragrance you see online, every fragrance that's hyped, you know. So yeah, anyways, that's just my word of advice for everyone in the fragrance community. And let me know if you if your opinion is different from mine, if you think there is such a thing as a perfect fragrance. I think there are fragrances that we can love and that like may be our favorite, but I think there's always a little bit of room for improvement, and as long as we keep growing, we keep maturing, and so do our noses, I think there's always room to find a new favorite fragrance. So let me know what your thoughts are. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thought it was a little bit different. Haven't seen anyone really talk about this topic, but let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you guys in the next one.